In this lesson, we will focus on editing in DaVinci Resolve, particularly in the 11.1 version, which, besides other changes, has introduced additional options and tools to the Edit panel. In one of the previous lessons, when we talked about workflow, I suggested that editing in DaVinci Resolve is also one of the ways of creating a timeline. So we are in Media Pool, and the source files we will use to create the timeline are located in the folders labeled Day 1 and Day 2. Switch to the Edit panel. Again, our source files are displayed in the Media Pool window. By moving the mouse over the video icon, we can preliminarily view individual clips. As we know, the left monitoring window is intended for the reference video, but it also serves for monitoring the source files. The right window is for monitoring the timeline. This is a basic principle present in virtually every nonlinear editor. Let's go into the timeline window. As we see, no timeline has been yet created. Call up the menu with a right-click and select to create a timeline. Let's label the new timeline right away. We can either change its timecode or leave it as is. We check whether we'd like to begin with an empty timeline or whether we want it generated from all clips from the media pool at full length. After confirmation, DaVinci Resolve creates a new blank timeline. As in any other editor, we'll be building the timeline from source clips in which we mark the in and out points. We can do so directly in the window or using the appropriate shortcuts I for in and O for out. Using the mouse, let's move the selected video section into the timeline, and our first clip is in its place. We select the next clip, mark in and out points, but this time let's place it into the timeline differently. In our tool panel, there are three clip placement icons. The first is Insert Clip, that is, inserting into a location marked by the cursor. In this case, our cursor is placed at the end of the first clip, which means that the next clip will come right after the first. If we wish to continue using this method, we should move the cursor to the end of the second clip. Here, the snapping function can come really handy. Let's place the third clip into the timeline the same way. If we want to place the next clip between, say, the second and third, the cursor comes to the end of the second clip. Using Insert, the next clip will be placed into the location, which means that the former clip is not erased, but moved along the timeline. If we wish to replace the former clip, we use Overwrite Clip. For demonstration, I'll pick a shorter section of a new source video and place it into our clip while overriding an already existing section. As we can see, the original video is sort of interrupted by the new shot, while other clips have not moved at all. Deleting a clip can also be done in several ways. If we'd like to erase one and at the same time fill the empty space created, we use the Delete key on the keyboard. If, however, we wish to erase it and leave the empty space in the timeline, press the backspace button or select Delete from the menu. If we erase the clip in order to replace it with a different one, DaVinci Resolve offers us a better solution. Let's place the cursor at the beginning of the shot we want to exchange. Select the new one from the media pool, yet mark only the cut-in point. This is called a 3-point cut. Press Replace Clip. As we can see, clips can be exchanged this way without compromising the rest of the timeline. Another way to place clips into the timeline is by dragging the source file into the right monitoring window. Here, 5 options are offered, and we are already familiar with the first 3. I'll select, say, Insert for this shot, since I want to place it at the very beginning of the timeline where my cursor is located. Let's put the next shot in using the 4-point cut. First, let's mark the in and out points, that is the place where the source clip will come on the timeline. Next, in the source window, we mark our clip's in and out points as well. Clearly, the clip lengths we chose in these two cases are not identical. The source video can be shorter or longer than its intended location on the timeline. Therefore, the placed clip will be adjusted by means of retiming. Let's drag the source clip into our monitoring window and select the 4th item, that is Fit to Fill. In the timeline, a small icon located in the clip's corner indicates that retiming has been applied. Using the right mouse button, we call up the menu and select Retime Clip. Here we see that the clip has been sped up and that its constant speed is at 158%. In the timeline, the clips can be placed into several layers or tracks. For example, we can place clips from the second day into track 2. A new layer can be created manually or automatically. To create it manually and to erase it if need be, use the right mouse button. For automatic track creation, use Place on Top, the 5th choice in the monitoring window. Or simply drag the clip to the spot above the previous track. Clips can be moved along the timeline easily using the mouse. They can also be shortened or lengthened here. If empty space is created, it can be erased with the Delete button, which also automatically moves the clips that follow the spot. If we check the Trim Edit Mode icon in the panel, the shortening and lengthening of scenes will affect all consecutive clips and they will adjust to the new cut. The Razor Edit mode enables us to cut a clip into 2 independent videos. This way we can create a gap whose length can be adjusted with Trim Edit mode. The length of the clips placed on the timeline can also be adjusted, as if retroactively in the source window. Again, the gap is erased using the Delete key. Clips can be interchanged on the timeline without compromising its length using the Swap function. It is applied by simultaneously pressing Shift and Command for Mac and Shift and Control for Windows. As you've noticed, the Edit Index window located to the left of the timeline records all changes we make during our editing into a neat table. If we need more space for our work, this window can be temporarily closed. We have retimed a clip, that is, we've shortened its length with a 4-point cut. If we'd like to manually retime a clip on the timeline, we just call up the menu with a right click and select Change Clip Speed. The new clip length can be set in 2 ways in the open window, in percentage points, or as a different number of frames per second. Here we can also determine whether we wish to ripple or adjust the scene sequence to the new length of our source clip. This window doesn't serve just for length adjustment. Here we can also process a shot we'd like to play backwards, or stop and freeze it entirely. After clicking the window, we're able to view the slower real-time playback. The standard setting for retiming playback in DaVinci Resolve simply uses the nearest frame that corresponds to the new speed. The program offers other ways too. The frame blend may be a better option, making the corresponding frames blend together, creating a smoother scene. The best, but also the most cumbersome method in terms of processing is optical flow. Here, the required frame is calculated based on the flow of the entire scene, as the so-called optical flow algorithm consequently generates the best possible new image. This produces much more fluid results. If we'd like to adjust individual track heights, we can do so simply by using the mouse. The audio track sizes can be adjusted as well. At this time, all our clips are without sound, which means that their audio tracks are blank. However, we can import some background music into DaVinci Resolve. Let's go to the Media pool and import a WAV audio file. Return to the Edit panel. To check it, we can play the file. Now we mark the in and out points and place it into a new track in the timeline. We adjust the file length to the lengths of our video clips. We will not be using audio tracks 1 and 2, and therefore they can be muted. In case of need, video tracks can also be muted that way. We locate the button for General Timeline setting in the lower right corner. Here, the size of all video and audio tracks can be set. There are also 4 overall timeline layout presets. The next button serves for switching on the audio indicators display. A clean cut can exist between 2 clips and can be moved if needed. With a quick right click, we can change the cut into cross dissolve. Opening the Effect panel, we may find out that DaVinci Resolve offers several dissolve or wipe type transition options. They can be placed easily with the mouse, for example. Text modules are also available, where all necessary parameters, such as the font size, text placement, or even a simple text shadow effect, can be set. Using generators, we can, for instance, place color calibration strips at the beginning of the timeline. If, however, we still wish to stay with the quick right-click solution, we're not limited only to cross-dissolve. Any transition in the panel can be assigned as the right-click short key. Also, there are 4 transition length presets available as well. When we're finished with cutting, the next logical step is grading in the color panel, and after that export of files in the delivery panel. Before we finish, let's go over the last timeline creation option in DaVinci Resolve using scene cut detection. Imagine a situation that someone asks you to grade video material in a single file, say MOV or AVI, MP4, etc. No edit lists are available. In such cases, you have two options. The first is manual. Import a video file into the media pool the standard way. Let's create a timeline with only this one scene. As we see in the color panel, there is only one clip available. Now switch into the Edit panel and, using the Razor Edit tool, divide it into individual shots. Now we can grade each shot separately in the color panel, as intended. But there is yet a simpler way in DaVinci Resolve. Let's import the file in the media pool differently. Select Scene Cut Detection from the menu. An entirely new window appears containing the tool. Now we press Start. The program scans the whole material and based on image changes it determines where cuts are located. As we see, the tool successfully identified all 5 cuts. It may happen that if the material is more complex, the program doesn't locate a cut correctly and will have to identify a certain threshold using this purple line, which it then should or should not identify as a cut. These vertical green lines represent cut probability, and, in this case, the tool determined the cut with full certainty. Next, let's send the suggested clips to the media pool. We then continue as usual, as if we had 5 source clips. Create a timeline. And we're ready to begin with grading. In this lesson, we focused on the principles of cutting in DaVinci Resolve, as well as the automatic material cutting using scene cut detection.